Welcome back to Nissan Arena here in Brisbane. Well, you can see the pump-up of this crowd has officially started, and they are loud already. They know the importance of this game. It is a big one against the premiers, the reigning premiers, and the team sitting at the top of the ladder already. There they are, the West Coast Fever, all the way from Perth, but doesn't mean they don't like this venue. Plenty of wins here before for them. Stacey Francis-Bayman and Kira Tromp joining me in commentary for this game. And it's a little bit quieter now as we get ready to get the two teams out on court. West Coast Fever undefeated so far this season. It is a big challenge for the Queensland Firebirds, isn't it, Stace?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but they are pulling out everything in their arsenal to get the team up and about for today's game. The crowd is fantastic, the atmosphere is really fizzing, and it's Gabby's on 150th.
It's a big one. Talk to me about the West Coast Fever travel, though. We haven't done that. 3 of their 5 games have been on the East Coast already this season. They were in Sydney just Monday. How much of an impact does that have on them?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting conversation, but to be honest, I think the noise really just about that circulates externally to the team. The challenges of being based in the West are a lot of travel, and it really isn't a part of the team's conversation other than the logistics of getting to and from paces, recovering and making sure that you were ready to go. There are no excuses.
Well, here come the Queensland Firebirds, Danielle Wallam, and a reminder of our Woolworths team cards. There's the Firebirds lineup, and as we've mentioned a couple of times, it is the same starting 7 that they've used in every game. Rebecca Bully, the head coach, will go to the bench though if needed. Here comes Kim Rebellion, the captain, and a big moment and a big cheer in the crowd for this lady, Gabby Simpson, playing in her 150th National League match tonight. What a moment for her, all in the one club. A very special moment. She would dearly love to be able to get a big win, or in fact just a win under the belt for the Firebirds tonight. Well, the ball in the hands of Verity Simmons for the West Coast Fever, which means the lights are up and we're off here at Nissan Arena. Straight away, Gabby Simpson into the action.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important for the Firebirds to not let Fever build that confidence and the flow from the off. So I would definitely look at getting in the contest, slowing them down. But as we said in the pre-show, you've really got to be mindful of not drawing too much of the attention of the umpire.
Well, that are those cheeky little penalties we were talking about. Coming from a defender, I didn't expect anything less. All the way back to Simpson. Stour. Whoa, over the top. But didn't look like a well-placed ball, did it? Danielle Wallam under pressure early, and it's from her own team. Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay. Wow, that's just way too easy, and how much confidence to throw that from that sort of distance and over 2 defenders, Stace.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's really showing Fever's class and confidence in each other to put that ball in. Remy Carmo is having a fantastic season, and she's also got that height and that presence in the circle. So I'd be interested to see whether they continue to do that for the rest of the game.
Well, at this stage, though, they're up for the challenge, aren't they? It's almost a mirror image down one end as it is down the other. Out of the circle, Glasgow, and as usual, direct to target. Sitting up the top with the assists. In fact, she's the only goal attack to be in the top 20 for assists. Just like that, there's another ripper coming off the hand of the captain, Rebellion into Danielle Wallam. 3 apiece here, early days. Well, Lara Dunkley had a very good look at that, didn't she? What do you make of the defensive change-up, having Ariang out on Dunkley and having Jenna back on Glasgow?
I think where we find Jenna at her best is at the goal defence, and Sunday has the ability to be flexible and move across the line. I think Sunday is better in the circle personally, but she has had much less time playing on the wing defence position. And Kim is also being, I think, rewarded for that composed and impactful performance that she had last week. Danny's very keen to get her out there. She has a presence in the circle, and you absolutely wouldn't want Sunday Ariang sat on your bench.
Well, certainly those long arms of Sunday Ariang going to come into play too over Lara Dunkley. There she is, Kim Jenner, just talking about her up against her old club, as is Rudy Ellis. Nice little touch on that ball into Janelle Fowler. Well, they can't be separated at the moment, just going goal for goal. And this will be the consistency. Well, just as I say it, the word's not even out of my mouth. A mistake creeping in for the Queensland Firebirds. But Stacey, you mentioned in the pre-game, this is where the West Coast Fever are exceptionally dangerous, and that's scoring off these turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely, and I wouldn't necessarily say that that was a forced error. That was just a bit of a brain fade from Gabby in that moment. Both teams are tickering through quite easily off of their centre pass. But yeah, Fever are the best in the league at their ability to turn gains into goals at the other end.
Just like that one. So finally get themselves a little bit of breathing space, and they have the centre pass to follow. Teague Neal. Oh, well, barely out of the circle was Janelle Fowler.
To quote Janelle Fowler from a few weeks ago, she said,
this will be good, I'm excited.
A little movement never hurt nobody. In a better accent.
A little movement.
A little.
Love it. There she is, Fowler. What a superstar of our game she has been for years, and does not look like slowing down at all. Well, that is a dicey ball over those hands, isn't it? Sunday Ariane Costello, but it gets there. A little bit longer range from Wallam, can't make it fall. Long ball, Courtney Bruce. Simmons. Glasgow. Again, vision direct to Fowler. Well, just like that, I'd mentioned about a minute ago, it was goal for goal. Now they find themselves up by the 4 with the centre pass.
Blink and you miss it, right? It's the perceived pressure, or the pressure that Fever are actually putting out there, that's causing some of those errors.
You know what I've noticed about the West Coast Fever this year is it's not necessarily anything flashy, but they've just been, under Dan Ryan, very clinical and just get the job done. Score off their centre passes, score off their turnovers. So that's how this happens, these big margins, very quickly.
Yeah, Fever have a very clear game plan that's been built over many, many seasons. So with a Stacey Marinkovic, and then Dan was able to come in and sprinkle some premiership magic on that as well. And I think what's really exciting to see this year is that they are able to take another step forward, and I think Dan will continue to tweak things and to stamp his authority on the team and their style of play moving forward.
Well, it is a good point you make. As the premiers, they could easily sit back and think they're the best. They don't need to do much more, but they continue to grow, don't they, the West Coast Fever? And just like that, they're up by 5. Well, would we expect a timeout coming anytime soon?
You read my mind. I was about to say, if you're switched on, I really wouldn't want to let a Fever push out too far. Defensively, Firebirds have been fantastic this season, but you just want to stay in touch of the game. You want to keep that confidence high, and yeah, don't let Fever just continue to steamroll things.
Well, not forgetting Kira Tromp down on the sideline for us. Let's get down to her now.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm down here alongside Dan Ryan, the coach of the Fever. He's been up and about in the coach's box, yelling directions. Really is happy with the active work that his defenders are doing, working for the 4 seconds, which, as we know, is a second longer than you can hold the ball. So that's the effort that the Fever are going to shut down the Firebirds' attacking line.
Thank you to Kira. Well, they're just continuing on their merry way, though, and a little mix-up then coming, Glasgow taking the shot, and another error from the Queensland Firebirds, and it's happening in that mid-court too, the area that we talked about in the pre-game as being the one that really needs to stand up and lead.
Yeah, absolutely right, and I think for me it's extra frustrating to cause unforced errors off of the centre pass. It's a given possession, you practice it 1,000,001 times in training, and you should be really clear off of your structures and connected in those moments, and we've just seen a couple of those slip through the hands of the Firebirds so far.
Down the other end, there is no slipping through anything. Janelle Fowler, another on the board. That is now 7, the difference. You're recently retired, Stace. Talk to me about the timeouts. Was there a structure or a plan in place as to when you call a timeout? What was the margin, the magic margin that there would have to be a timeout called?
Yeah, I think it has changed over time, given how a pass to herself and out of court there by Donnell.
Well, it should have been a replay, shouldn't it? There didn't touch anybody else's hands on the way through.
There were a few call options missed, I think, by the umpire there, but Courtney Bruce down and looking very uncomfortable.
Well, the last thing you ever want to see is a player go down and grab it. Looked like she grabbed her Achilles. Let's hope it's just a tweak of the ankle. Courtney Bruce, so important to this lineup, so important for the Australian Diamonds as well. Let's have a look at it on the Harvey Norman replay. And yeah, it looks like it could be the front of the ankle. She just got the toe of Danelle Wallam.
Yeah, that would be very, very painful. Courtney is an experienced campaigner, and I think if they can do some work with her off of the court, then they will. But how exciting to have Rudy impact on the court.
Well, again, up against her own side. We'll get Kira Tromp to keep an eye on that injury. She walked off the court. That is a very positive sign for the captain of the West Coast Fever, Courtney Bruce. Well, nothing changing up this end of the court, finding Fowler with ease as they take another now. The West Coast Fever, 7 the difference.
I think for me, the strength of a team to win a premiership is in the quality of their whole 10. And so what we'll see from Fever, hopefully today, is that for them to be able to make changes, whether they're forced or they're selected, is that they don't take a foot off. I personally believe they've got a great bench with real fantastic depth, and we're just seeing error caused there by the new defensive partnership in the circle.
So an early win. Another error, though, coming off that experience mid-court. Dan Ryan quite often goes to Rudy Ellis in that last 5 minutes in the power 5 of the game, so she's just got a little bit longer to play.
Absolutely right, and I spoke to Rudy about that moment, and she used some choice words that I won't repeat, but she certainly feels the pressure of those moments to have impact. And we even had a chat between you and I before the game that it is a real skill to be able to just enter a game and to do not just do a job, but to have impact. You're almost expected to do a little bit more than your predecessor.
Well, there it is, the timeout we thought may have come a little earlier, but also Courtney Bruce. That's encouraging to see. Just some restrapping, so hopefully firm it up a little bit. It may have ripped in that little tweak of the ankle. It would be great to know that firstly she's okay and potentially back out on court. Let's get down now, though, to the Queensland Firebirds huddle and see how Rebecca Bully is going to get the Firebirds back into this contest.
Let's just back, Nelly, and put the ball in there. Be really clear with where you want it. You hit the hand, okay? Keep the eye contact, because when you have that, don't pull out in the last minute. Put your head down and run, and be confident to give that ball.
I reckon stay on hands, and you've got to run through and have a go at batting to set, okay? You've got to just try and turn over. One, you know that one? How she like burrows in under me? Yeah. What should I do? Get off and keep going around. Just move your feet, get off, get around. It may not come, but you just keep persevering. You'll get one, okay?
Start and rush.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Put the hand up so they've got a target to throw to. One-on-one, it's coming in. Yeah?
You two need to be a lot harder on D. Yeah, because they're getting it backwards and forwards. We've got to contest those passes. We've got to turn it over in that centre third.
Rebecca Bully, the smiling assassin Rebecca Bully, the head coach. Plenty to say, but always with a smile on her face. There is Courtney Bruce. She's up. Let's have a look. A reminder how she just tweaked the ankle moments ago. So it looked to have landed on the end of Danelle Wallam's foot and certainly looked uncomfortable. But the good news is to all the netball fans, not only in the West, but across the country, is she's up walking around and she's about to get herself on the bike. So hopefully back onto the court in a little while. Fowler out of the circle. Nearly throws it away. Maybe she should get back in the circle, Stacey.
Absolutely right, and I think actually that was a fantastic moment for Remy Carmo to come out and to contest. Janelle can move at speed when she wants to, but she kind of just was allowed to leave and exit and then handle and get back in.
When she wants to, I love that comment. Let's get down to Kira Tromp, who was in the other huddle at that break.
Yes, Kath, I was there with Dan Ryan. A very direct message from him to his defensive unit of Rudy Ellis, Kim Jenner and Sunday Arian. He really wants them to work on their angles and confuse the space for the Firebirds. In attack, he just talked about the two-point shot. Look to Sasha Glasgow. She'll be trying to find that two-point shot. Even with a lead of 8, they're still wanting to press forward with the two-point shot.
Yeah, they certainly will be. It is a side that continues to raise the bar, isn't it, the West Coast Fever? Oh, straight through the middle. What a feed. They're not often a path you see taken to Janelle Fowler. Flat and hard through the smallest of gaps. What an assist that was. Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay from Sasha Glasgow. And there is the siren, the start of the Power 5. Danelle Wallop straight into it and sinks it. Well, the first Suncorp super shot of the game to Danelle Wallop. Interesting to note, she's taken plenty of them this year. That was her 20th attempt at the super shot in season 2023.
Yeah, Danelle is not a one-trick pony. She absolutely has that ability to shoot long, and I think when she's calm and she takes her time to set the shot, they can go in all day. But when she's rushed, harried, and potentially they're trying to chase a score with no time on the clock, that's when we see her falter.
Yeah, just sitting on 6 from 20, so the percentage is low, but she's confident to back herself from that long distance, as she is from right underneath the post, does most of the damage from there. That is, again, a confident ball. 2 balls from in line with the centre pass to under the post stakes. It's got to be stopped. How do they slow it up?
Yeah, it was incredibly efficient work there by Fever. What Coach Beck Bully said in their timeout is that she wants them to be harder on defence and contest the ball in the middle. Unfortunately, they were missing that then, and then they were caught short.
7 the difference here. Here's the Harvey Norman replay, and a ball over the top to Danelle Wallop. So the Queensland Firebirds more than capable of scoring quickly also. What a take from Ariang. Well, you could see the Queensland Firebirds bench up on their feet then, and the crowd didn't like that call either. Well, nearly put right by Bakewell Doran.
An absolute gift for her there. I think a little bit surprised that it came straight to her hands.
All the way back to Jenna on the transverse line. Simmons, Glasgow, loves this distance. Oh, just rings out. So that's a little bit of a win for the Queensland Firebirds. They need to score off it though. Oh, Teague Neal. Well, we've been talking for the last 4 rounds about her attack brilliance, and maybe she was tiring of it. Wanted to show us what she could do in defence as well.
Yeah, a real cheeky tip of the pass there. You'd really like the ball to be placed into space, and again, back lines, a set structure, give the goalkeeper as much confidence as possible that she can get the first ball out as a minimum. Great through court there, though, by Firebirds, and ability to punish at the other end.
West Coast Fever centre pass to follow. 2:20 on the clock in this first quarter. Glasgow, Teague Neal takes a little knock from Simpson on the way down. Quick off the hands from Fowler.
Beautiful cover by Ruby there as Sasha swept the circle. That's a real strength of hers, and the ability to stop it, but whilst not causing a penalty, is a hard skill to master.
The last thing you want to do is give Glasgow a second shot at a Suncorp super shot, and that is why drains her first one of the game. Oh, and again through the hands. Ravalian and Dunkley. I wouldn't be surprised to see a change coming in that mid-court. We've seen it briefly in the across the first 4 rounds, Stacey, with Gardner into the mix. And I actually really liked what it brought for something different. Do you think Beck Bully is potentially going to go to that if this margin stays the same after the first quarter?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a wise idea necessarily to send out the exact same 7 when it hasn't executed, and they've had 15 minutes and a timeout also to come in and to work on some pointers to fix. Really unlucky there by Gabby Simpson. The wing defence and the circle edge are not friends. But some feedback that they did get from the mid-court is that she wanted them to have better eye contact, to keep that connection, to make sure that ball travels safely from Firebird to Firebird, and that's not happening.
Oh, that is a beautiful ball and a take. But look at Wallen already. The sense of mind knowing that they need to get some points here. So she could have taken that shot underneath the post, but wants to get herself into this white arc and see if she can drain a 2 here in a Suncorp super shot, and she can.
Yeah, the Fever defenders will really want to switch on to that. She scored a super shot from that exact position in the circle already, so for me the shooter's going to be confident and want to take that ball back in that spot. That's 2 from 2 from her now. The defenders will need to adjust.
Well, it's a big ask, isn't it, when your shooter can absolutely annihilate you in both positions, underneath the post or out at long distance. Janelle Fowler, well, she's mastered the under the post. 10 the difference here. Centre pass in the hands of Ravalian. Are they going to have time to score off it, though? The Queensland Firebirds, no, they don't. And that will be the end of the first 15 minutes of play. And it's the West Coast Fever with a 10-goal margin. They lead at 15-25.
Welcome back to the Origin quarter-time break here, where I'm joined with by Australian netball great Wilma Shakespeare and her lovely granddaughter Delilah. Now, Wilma, it's an exciting year for netball, World Cup year. Looking at all the talent here out on the court tonight, what gets you excited about what's to come for the Diamonds?
Oh yeah, I just think like the game's growing and growing, isn't it? And I think we've got strength in all of the three areas. And I also think the coaching team has done a good job. So I've got my fingers crossed and everything else, because it's not only us that's improved. Let's face it, the netball world has become stronger and smarter, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're speaking like a true coach, Wilma, having coached Australia before. One thing that the Firebirds can do better in the second quarter, Delilah, tell us what it is.
Probably like faster on defence and jumping higher.
You heard it here, Kath, faster on defence. Back to you up there in the commentary.
Thank you very much. What a delight to have Wilma Shakespeare in the house. Certainly paved the way, didn't she? What a superhero of our sport. And we will pass that on to Rebecca Bully and the Firebirds jump higher in the second quarter.
I feel like I was always telling myself to jump higher and it didn't necessarily work.
Oh dear, I knew it was that easy. Oh, there's a tip and it comes from behind Bakewell Doran.
Brilliant first ball contest, though. I really love to see that. You don't want Sasha just to be handling the ball freely and feel comfortable.
Well, she was wearing it like a glove, wasn't she? Particularly tight attention being paid to Glasgow. Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay. Bakewell Doran right behind. Well, just having a quick glance on the court, no changes made from either side, Stace. So we did question whether the Queensland Firebirds would make a change at quarter time. They've chosen to stick it out. Oh, a take from Danelle Wallam. Well, we've seen some of that magic before. The good news, though, of course, for the West Coast Fever is Courtney Bruce is back on court in goalkeeper. So hopefully it was just a little tweak of the ankle, a stinger.
Yeah, and that's absolutely no discredit to the work that Rudy was doing out there in the first quarter. Fever were able to come away with a 10-point gap between the Firebirds. And for me, that was through the unforced errors that were made by the Firebirds. They had 4, Fever had 1. They also had an additional general play turnover, and Fever were able to execute off 100% of those balls.
Kira Tromp, how good to see Courtney Bruce back on court in this quarter.
Absolutely, Kath. One thing I think, outstanding work from Dan Ryan. He went over to Grudy Ellis on the bike, spoke to her, delivered her a message. I think that in-game feedback, particularly as a defender from your head coach, is so important.
Absolutely, because, as you say, didn't do anything wrong. And that is all the positivity and the encouragement she needs to keep under her belt. As we just saw, I think, the best passage of play from the Queensland Firebirds. 2 hard, flat shoulder passes. Simmons, Fowler. That classic foot in front shot we see so often from the Jamaican.
Yeah, and a bit of a debate I saw being had about that on social media this weekend around that, you know, that contact of either the shooter stepping in or the defender's hands going to the ball. What's your perception?
Well,
Kath?
it's actually a very interesting discussion, isn't it? I agree, and she does it so often, doesn't she, Fowler? Because more often than not really affected by the defender's hand, given her height. But yeah, you got to be careful if you're encroaching on that 3 feet distance.
Yeah, exactly right. She steps in, but she seems more than comfortable to do that, and to also really great contest there by Carmo, and the umpire letting it play. We love to see it.
Well, both of them looked a little shocked, didn't they? They were waiting for the whistle to come, and it didn't. I agree with you. Love to see those contests. Here are the Nissa Net Points match leaders. And there's a couple of faces we're very used to seeing in season 2023. Fowler, Teague, Neal and Glasgow. And then Verity Simmons made her way up there into second as well. Stour, how good to see her sitting in that top 5 for the Queensland Firebirds. And it's because of work just like that, our Harvey Norman replay, and that assist into Danelle Wallam.
Yeah, absolutely right. I feel like Stara has come under a lot of criticism so far this season. It's really hard to stand up and to play consistently in a team that aren't doing so well. And I think as a result of that, she's probably had a bit of her work rate highlighted, but excellent to see that she's starting the game well today. We want to see her continue to do that.
Well, now 11 the difference. The West Coast Fever have taken control of this game, and they've done it early. The big question now is, how do the Queensland Firebirds respond? Well, that is a good start. A great take from Wallam, and a little bit of twinkle toe action on the baseline. Glasgow, nowhere to go momentarily. All the way back to the captain, Courtney Bruce. Simmons, another long ball. Yeah, Janelle Fowler took that a little further away from home than she'd typically like. So smart enough to put the penalty down and let Glasgow take it. There's the Harvey Norman replay. A little contact on the hand there coming from Remy Camo. And another turnover in the meantime, the way of the West Coast Fever. Oh, Courtney Bruce again. Well, she just dropped the ball. Looked like her leg buckled underneath her. Well, Stace, what are your feelings on that? We saw her go down, tweaked her ankle, looked in pain. She's back on court. Do you feel like she needs to be at this point if she's still struggling a little bit with the feeling?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. A Courtney Bruce at half percentage is probably pretty high standard. However, it is a long season. We've seen error there by Verity, unfortunately, throwing the ball out on the sideline. But it is a long season. We've spoken about that versatility and that depth of the Fever bench. And if Courtney's potentially going to do herself more harm, then be confident to make that change and back in the rotation.
And not many teams could add this to the mix, but the travel makes a big difference if you're injured and you're carrying information on planes and everything else. So keep an eye on that, and Dan Ryan and how he plays this one with Courtney Bruce. Ariane, well, it's another positive turnover. Have a look at Gabby Simpson, the 150 gamer, slamming the hands together, trying to pump this side up. Can they reward the efforts defensively, though, the Queensland Firebirds? That is the big question.
You get the sense that this is quite an important goal for them to be able to score off of a gained possession.
The game is full of moments, isn't it? That, I think you're right, is one, because they have the centre pass to follow here, the Queensland Firebirds. It's about shifting that momentum. If they score here, they're going to feel a bit more confident about what's happening out there. Straight over the top. Well, they're finding Wallam pretty easily too. Taking advantage of a Courtney Bruce that's maybe not full capacity.
Yeah, absolutely right. You do want to be able to be comfortable to go up and to go down and to not worry about your feet, where they're landing, whether your ankles are stable or not. And yeah, they'd be foolish not to continue to exploit that.
Camo again, another penalty. Long distance one though, so quite often seeing Janelle Fowler take it a little further out and then duck back into that usual position. Smack bang under the post in the sweet spot for her. Have a look at these shooting stats. 100% for Fowler. There's another beautiful ball goes over the top to Danelle Wallam. And then only the one blink on the radar for Glasgow, and it was a Suncorp super shot.
Incredible shooting effort there by the Fever, but what is fantastic to see so far in this quarter is that the Firebirds are actually leading. They're able to execute their centre pass to goal, although they aren't necessarily stopping and impacting Fever's centre pass to goal either, which is sitting incredibly high in +90s, which you can't win a game on.
That is outstanding, isn't it? Well, foot out of court, that was clear to see. So an opportunity gone missing there for the Queensland Firebirds. Here it is, it's a long ball, and again, coming off the hand of the captain, Kim Revalian. I'm not seeing that leadership yet from that trio in terms of decision-making, Stacey.
Yeah, and it's hard because we were saying that we want somebody to step up in that centre court. Kim Revalian is the only player in the top 20 for Nissan net points in the Firebirds, so potentially she already is feeling that burden of carrying the weight of the Firebirds, and she isn't necessarily a vocal leader, so the way in which she is able to impact her team is through performance, and unfortunately it seems like there's a bit of a disconnect out there today.
How smart was that play? Verity Simmons just then, the little tip down. And the timeout has gone the way of Dan Ryan. So up by 11 at the moment, the West Coast Fever. But you just get the feeling he wants to put the foot down, doesn't he? Really wants to build on this and have a big, solid win in Queensland. Let's get down and have a listen to the master.
From firstly an attacking centre pass perspective, we clear the transverse line a little bit quicker. All right, so make sure you're going to come and fill transverse. All right, and Sunday as well, filling transverse line after centre pass. All right, so just don't hang around here too much. Try and get a little bit more depth quicker. All right, really important. Play a really active 2v1 edge in the circle. Know when it's super shot. Let's sit high. Don't give him second shots. Big open shot. All right, really important. Just a quick one. If you're going to attack centre pass first phase on attack, get on the inside so we're not going over the top to you. Okay, so just try and get on the inside line. Yeah. Keep looking at exploring your starting positions here in super shot, at the line, back in the circle, out wide, just a bit of variety all the time. Right? Okay, guys, just make sure again, if we make 2 mistakes in a row, non-negotiable for us, we absolutely lock in. So standards high, finish off this half. Let's go.
Well, Stacey, he doesn't waste his tactical timeouts, does he? His HCF tactical timeout there. He went to nearly every player with some gold. What did you pick up out of that timeout?
Yeah, absolutely right. You nailed it on the head. Dan won't be happy that they're even just 1 goal down in that quarter. They don't want to give Firebirds a sniff. He spoke about standards, which I absolutely love. They want to be league leaders in all of their stats. Best attacking lineup, best defensive lineup. And for the attackers, he was giving them a little bit of feedback, wanting them to go strong and deep on second phase, and also giving a bit of a super shot focus as well, as that'll be coming up pretty soon.
Kira Tromp, what was happening in the Queensland Firebirds huddle?
Yeah, Kath, lots of talk down there from the coaches. They split up in defence and attack. Rebecca Bully was really happy with the defensive work rate, just not getting the rewards, but she asked her defenders to keep pushing. As we see a contact there given away by the Firebirds, that's one area of the game they probably need to pull back, sitting currently on 19 penalties. Just being in the contest and making sure that when the ball's there, that they're first to it.
Thanks so much, Kira. Really interesting and so valuable to get that insight from the coaches on the sideline. A bit of a different lineup change that we're seeing here from the Fever. We were questioning whether Courtney's ankle had the ability to impact at goalkeeper at the back, and they've said yes or no, but she'll definitely be able to do it at goal defence.
Let's just run it out, is the headspace coming from Dan Ryan. Well, it's a lot about that Power 5 coming up, isn't it? Quite often, as we mentioned, we see Rudy Ellis come on at that moment. So let's see what they can both do. 13 seconds away from the Power 5, and Queensland Firebirds certainly in a position that they're going to have to start shooting a few of them, or attempting them at the very least. Ariane.
Excellent closing speed there. She looked like she was nowhere near it and managed to really make up that ground.
We just heard the siren in the back of play. So we are in Power 5 time. Who's going to go for those Suncorp super shots from the Queensland Firebirds?
Yes.
No one. Rudy Ellis.
2 hands.
Yeah, on to do the job, and it wasn't even over the shot, was it? It was just a great, solid contest in the air. Exactly what Dan Ryan had asked of her. Here it is on the Harvey Norman replay. Up strong. Teague Neal. Fowler out of the circle again. Straight back to Teague Neal, though. She makes her way back. Well, it's just an easy double play between the two, isn't it?
I think it's such a challenge playing against a Fowler, because when she catches the ball and you feel like you pushed her away from the court, you don't realise that she's already done that split. And so when she steps in, she's back at home and she's underneath the post.
Well, you've played with her, against her at training for so many years. Does she actually have a weakness?
It's very demoralising at times, especially when she takes the liberty of patting you on the head as she catches the ball above you.
So that's a no.
Those are my favourites.
She's got some sympathy about it, but not necessarily a weakness. Well, there you go. West Coast Fever, 13 the difference. And the ball in hand as well. Taking their time here, though. Queensland Firebirds momentarily holding them up. That is a big challenge. Gabby Simpson, Teague Neal, both on the ground. Well, that was our matchup to keep an eye on pre-game. Have a look at this Harvey Norman replay. You can see Teague Neal's face. She knew that contest was coming. There was a grimace.
It was definitely a ball to contest. What you'd love to see for Gabby there is just that change of angle at the last second to come off and to take it cleanly, because that ball would have been hers.
Plenty more of those challenges, please. How good to watch. Janelle Fowler, who did a full 360. Wasn't entirely sure what she wanted to do with it. 14 the difference. And the centre pass in hand, straight over the top. Good contest, though, from Bakewell-Doran.
I think an area that we spoke about in the pre-game that Firebirds haven't necessarily been executing. Oh, and we see a very, potentially the one miss of the game this season, this game, excuse me, by Janelle Fowler. Yeah, the potential area that we haven't seen Firebirds improve on is their ability to come out of timeouts and have impact. They went into the timeout, 1 goal up. They're now 3 goals down.
Well, smart timeout there from Dan Ryan, wasn't it? Able to flip it on its head, take momentum back their way, and they just continue to build here too. The West Coast Fever, there's your general play turnovers. Nearly half the game in netball and only 3. That is exceptional. Exceptional stats.
Yeah, that's pretty demoralising. It's scary that your game plan can't be based on physicality or forcing a team into an error, because they don't seem to be that team this season.
Well, I think Courtney Bruce has found her hops again with that challenge over Stour.
She was listening in at the quarter break to the just jump higher feedback.
Harvey Norman replay. Gabby Simpson takes one, and then Courtney Bruce straight back again. Oh, and Rudy Ellis.
Really great footwork there from Rudy. She saw that Mia had that easier drive going towards the circle edge. She took a hedge on it, but then was able to recover and get herself back in the contest.
Well, smart work there too, I was going to say. Courtney Bruce looked like she'd covered the shot well, and you can see the height. Rudy Ellis on Wallam. Sinks it though, Stour steps up, drops her first Suncorp super shot of the game. And what a time to do it. Just heading into this halftime break. Just over a minute left. Gets it back to 11. Well, the issue is Sasha Glasgow pretty good from that spot as well, but no, through the hands of Bakewell-Doran.
Alice Teague Neal just racking up the Nissan net points there by adding to her pickups. Really great hustle on the rebound by Ruby Bakewell-Doran. Wasn't able to gather, but Alice was straight on it.
Yeah, you're right, she's got to pick up an assist back-to-back. Those points skyrocketing. Stour, well, it was a long one. Danelle Wallam strong on the rebound. They keep the margin at 12, just over 20 seconds to play in this first half. Glasgow all the way back to Bruce. Now back to Ellis, fumbles a little before she regathers.
Don't often practice catching off of your face, so that's a tricky skill to execute in the game.
It's not the kind of highlight reel you want, is it? There it is. The siren for the halftime break, and the West Coast Fever in complete control, up by the 13 goals. They won that first quarter by 10, 25-15. And then the second, as you mentioned, Stacey, they were down originally, but they turned it around and took the second quarter 17-15 as well. So a few goals less than what they managed to score in that first quarter, but they'll be happy with taking the wins and keeping some consistency. And we'll get down now to Kira Tromp, who's on court with one of the West Coast Fever.
I'm here with captain of the West Coast Fever, Courtney Bruce. A 12-goal leading into half-time. Talk us through the first half, obviously coming off the court with an ankle injury and coming back into the game at goal defence.
Yeah, I'm honestly fine. Stepped on Nellie's big size, 14 feet. My fault completely, but yeah, awesome start by our girls. We wanted to come out hard. We didn't have a great start against the Swifts last week, so to put a score up like that, we're pretty stoked.
What do you think Dan's going to say in the halftime break about keeping up that tempo in the second half?
Yeah, definitely. I think we started to lose a bit of ball in our transition out then, so just tidying that up and giving some easy options and just connecting the two ends, because when we connected, we're absolutely unstoppable.
All the best for the second half, Courtney. Back to you, Kath.
Thanks, Kira. Thanks to Courtney. Well, stay with us. We'll be back with you for our halftime show. And don't forget, straight after this game, we're heading a little further north where the Sunshine Coast Lightning will be hosting the New South Wales Swifts. And then, of course, right after that, Pivot will wrap up all of your round 5 action. Special guest Magpies Sophie Garvin will be joining Hannah Hollis, Annie Sargent and Sam Pullman. Welcome back to Nissan Arena here in Brisbane. The Queensland Firebirds taking a much-needed rest in the change room at the moment. There'll be plenty to be said from the head coach, Rebecca Bully, in the middle, and also Lauren Brown, their attacking coach, sitting there. At the moment, the West Coast Fever showing absolutely no signs of fatigue from not only a Monday night game, but travel back to Perth and then again back to the East Coast. They took that first quarter by 10 and then took the second by the 3 goals. Currently, the West Coast Fever up by the 13 goals. Guys, we talked about the West Coast Fever being particularly dominant in this game. Is this the kind of margin you thought you'd see at halftime?
Yeah, looking at this, Kath, a 13-goal lead, looking at the way the Firebirds finished last week and the way the Fever did, yes, I think it's quite reflective of where they are at in their seasons. The Firebirds just not able to get the gained ball tonight that they've been relying on for the first 4 games of the season.
Well, Alice Teague-Neal was all our pre-game chat with good reason, because she's been phenomenal again. And what I love about her is she just goes about her business, doesn't she? There's nothing flashy about Alice Teague-Neal, but she continues to rack up every stat, Stace.
Yeah, she's an absolute workhorse, and I think she obviously heard us talking about her ability to improve her game through her defensive impact this season, and she's shown that today. She's ready to back up her team and to support them if ball falls loosely through hands, and she's just continuing to go about her business.
What does Gabby Simpson need to do? Change it up what she's doing on Alice Teague-Neal so far, Kira?
I think so, Kath. I think she needs to adjust her hands over pressure and start to track the ball and slow down the ball movement for the Fever. At the moment, it looks like Alice Teague-Neal has leagues of time to sight, deliver, and then get the ball back again. She likes to step on, so I'd be really sitting low, blocking up the space and forcing Teague-Neal away from the ball. At the moment, Gabby's working hard, but then giving away a penalty at a crucial time and releasing that pressure.
Yeah, you're so right. It looks like she's got all the time in the world with the ball in her hand, doesn't she? The Queensland Firebirds, whilst they're down by 13, they're still consistent. 15 goals in each of the quarters, and I think one of the better players for me so far has been the input of what Stow is doing, Stacey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Stour's ability to maintain this across the game will make sure that Firebirds are really competitive. She's working her way into the game out there. She's confident to post and putting up the shots, which is exactly what we love to see from the goal attacks. And she's ably assisting Denal in there as well by putting in some sharp feeds.
And down the other end, the Firebirds defenders, they haven't got a whole heap of ball back. You just mentioned that, but I feel like they're really in the contest, aren't they? Both Carmo and Bakewell Doran really having a crack at the opportunities.
Well, from courtside, Kath, they are inches away from getting the balls. They are so close. It's just the feed coming from the Fever is pinpoint accuracy. And I think anyone would find it hard pressed to try and pull off some of these intercepts, but they're giving it a red hot crack.
Well, the defender down the other end in the green made her heart stop momentarily. Courtney Bruce, this was the injury, landing on the foot of Danelle Wallam and straight away grabbed her ankle. Initially, it looked like she grabbed her Achilles. The very good news, though, is that she is back on court, came back on court in that second quarter. Even without her, though, it was so good to see the likes of a Rudy Ellis come in and really just play like, well, who's Courtney Bruce? I'm here to do the job now.
Exactly, and I think Rudy was really able to reward Dan's confidence in her. She was out there, she was clean, she was working her footwork, she was confusing the feeder, but she was also able to get hands on ball as well. And why not just push Courtney Bruce out to goal defence to really run off of any stinger that's going on in her ankle?
Absolutely. It worked for them for a moment, didn't it? Let's have a look at the halftime match stats. And I fear they're going to be favouring the West Coast Fever, just starting with that shooting percentage alone.
Yeah, absolutely, Kath. The one that stands out for me there is the gains. Firebirds only having 2 gains to their name. For mine, if that's an area where they can improve and bring this score back, they're still in this match, and if they can turn some ball over and execute under pressure and score off those games, they can come back in it.
Yeah, I think historically a Fever Firebirds game isn't an interception fest. It's not just how the game works. However, Fever are able to really monopolise there by having 9 pickups to the Firebirds 1. So any error and indecision that the defence is causing, Fever are capitalising off of that.
If you're Rebecca Bully now and you've got to prioritise maybe 1 or 2 things for this second half, what are they?
I think for me, Kath, it's the mid-court trio of Dunkley, Revellion and Simpson. If you look at the stats, the general play turnovers are coming from there, so closing down those turnovers.
Well, the passion on the court has been pretty clear to see in this first half, hasn't it? So we know what it means to these teams. But we want to know, what does netball mean to you and what does the game mean to you? Brought to you by Suncorp, would like you to submit your entry in 50 words or less, along with a video or image of you and your club to foxsports.com.au/Suncorp, or scan the QR code for your chance to win a family membership to the Suncorp Super Netball Club of your choice in season 2024. How good would that be? Here is Tegan Cranny's entry, which showcases how important netball is to her because she has heaps of support around her. Her family constantly cheering her on and encouraging her to try new things, which makes her believe in herself. We're back in Queensland Nissan Arena. It is your first game of Super Sunday, and both games today will be in the beautiful state of Queensland. It is a full house here today, and you'll notice a lot of the yellow ribbons right throughout the crowd. They've been handed out to support Gabby Simpson playing in her 150th game today. And Stacey, already some changes made that we can note, and that is because Gabby Simpson is not on the court at the moment. Let's have a look at the changes. Emily Moore into goal attack. Dunkley stays where she is. Macy Gardner into the wing. And Kim Revellion back in wing defence. Well, let's get down now straight away to the coach of the West Coast Fever, Dan Ryan. And Dan, what a start from your team. We talked about a massive travel week after a game on Monday, and they're looking good. What was the week like in terms of the game on the Monday and then getting to this point?
Yeah, pretty quick turnaround, so we knew that we had to make sure that we freshened up as much as possible, and you know, there's a real focus for us in that first 15 minutes to make sure we showed the growth from our first 15 minutes against the Swifts last week. So loved how the girls started and pushed on quite well.
Dan, you spoke about standards in a quarter timeout, in a break in the second quarter. Where do you want to see the team step up in the second half of the game?
I think definitely long court connection can have a little bit of a growth in this second half. We just had a couple of turnovers there that we can tidy up on, and it's really about staying focused now to keep the scoreboard pressure on. So still lots of work to do for sure.
And arguably, Dan, when you make changes as a coach, sometimes that will disrupt what the team is doing. But we've spoken the pre-game and throughout about the bench power that the Fever have. How impressed have you been with Rudy coming in and out of the game today? And then now you've obviously got the luxury of implementing a Jess Anstis, and we're going to see a bit more of Emma Kosh than what we've seen so far this year. Yeah,
it's really important, and they have to be able to inject themselves into the game, be it in the moment or in a break, whether we're up, down, whatever the circumstance. So a great opportunity for a few of our players today to get amongst it. So testing the depth is really important.
Thanks, Dan. We'll leave you to it. All the best for the second half.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, what a position to be in, Stacey. You mentioned how important the strength of the bench was as we just see the Firebirds throw away yet another ball. And both sides have made changes, and for very different reasons, though, at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely right. Just to look at back at our head-to-head, it was the Gabby v Alice at the start of the game. Unfortunately, Gabby has obviously taken to the bench now because I think Alice was getting the better of her in that combat. Alice has 60 Nissan net points, Gabby only 3, and she was the most penalised person on court at that time. Confident shot at distance by Kosh, unfortunately not dropping to her yet.
Yeah, good to see her have a crack at those early, though. You don't want her just to slip in there and think she's got to feed the likes of a Janelle Fowler. That's a good, confident ball from distance, too, from Moore. Well, this combination was tested early in the season in a similar position, and it really did do the job for the Queensland Firebirds. They went on to win the second half of that particular game, so I'm looking forward to seeing if they can make that spark again.
Yeah, when you blink and the scoreline has a tendency to change when you're against a fever, but Firebirds will be thrilled with how they've started at the moment. It was 4-1, now 4-2, following Janelle executing that goal under the post.
All about moments, and this new combination for the Queensland Firebirds have got theirs right now. They're going to want to do the best they can with it as we see another ball fly out of court, and it's a couple that have come off the hand of Bakewell Doran.
Absolutely, and I was just thinking if that was me in those moments, it really does start to play on your mind. It's hard not to then just get really drawn up in the fact that you've thrown ball away, you potentially shy away from being available, and then it also starts to affect a bit of your confidence. But she's a young, talented player, and I've no doubt that she'll continue to be a menace as she has done so far.
All will be forgiven if she pulls off a couple of intercepts to get that ball back, won't it? The West Coast Fever. Well, they get themselves back in the contest that is this third quarter. As you say, it was 4-1 to the Queensland Firebirds. It is now 4-3, and they have the ball in hand. Janelle Fowler surely will pot another from there. She does. So that gap was narrowed, but it is back out to the 13 goals that it was at half-time. Rudy Ellis. Well, got the tip, but then it was tipped ever so briefly from Danelle Wallam.
Yeah, I think really good work again there by Rudy with her footwork. She had potentially left a little bit of a gap and a space between her and Danelle, but Rudy's a tall, strong player, and she was still able to get up and to contest that ball and cause the error. For me, as a defender, a previous defender, the errors from the opposition were almost more gratifying than fantastic work there by Ruby to contest that ball. But yeah, an error was often more rewarding than an intercept, but maybe that's because they came a bit less frequently.
Well, you just sound mean. No, completely get it. We just saw Ruby hitting the deck there. So the West Coast Fever now, they've taken it 14. And they can make that 15 if they score off this centre pass. Simmons, Kosh. Two great options there. Emma Kosh, the front one, and Janelle Fowler at the back. So how quickly they've turned this third quarter on its head. Yeah, Gardner and Verity Simmons getting tangled. Just almost running into each other there. Nice, quick double play from Moore and Gardner. And it's a good shot too from Emily Moore. So that's her first of the game. Simmons, Fowler, well, challenge from both defenders then too, wasn't she? And Kosh takes that beautiful drive and just draws the defender.
Yeah, completely thankless work there in the circle, I think, but necessary.
A very, very good way to put it. Thankless work. So many of the positions on court have to do those jobs. Wallop gets it back to 14. Not out of the contest either, the Queensland Firebirds. We have to remind people, and there is one of the first wins back, but with the super shot and the likes of a Danelle Wallam, they can score quickly. It is now probably just the key is to getting some of the ball back, and that was the first one. It came from the tip. Rebellion and the chase. Dunkley. Long to Wallam. Well, see, there it is, case in point. Just like that, they've now got it back to 12. Well, it could be another win. No, where were the Queensland Firebirds on that, though?
Yeah.
You'd think in a game like this, with that sort of desperation, that should have been all purple, Stacey.
You're right. You want to be involved in the free moments, the gifts that are out there for you to turn the momentum, to get the crowd on your side, to let the umpires know that you are here to contest the game. And unfortunately, they were sat watching. I think.
Yeah, have a look at this Harvey Norman replay. Janelle Fowler.
Yeah, exactly right. A little bit of movement gave Janelle Fowler a pickup.
Dunkley over the top. Oh, thought it was nearly going to be out of court. Taken. The little fingertip control there from Danelle Wallam is all she needed. And as much as I know these players won't want to be thinking about it, if we just watch that feed over the top, look at the fingertip control from Wallam. There is Australian Diamond selection still looming. That will be announced round 7. We're in round 5, so not far away. And Tanel Wallam, certainly a player that will want to impress, but tough when you're on the end of some losing margins, but a real opportunity for here when she's up against the likes of a Courtney Bruce and the Australian team already.
Absolutely right, and this is a critical moment for Firebirds as a team in general in this quarter. They just got a cheap turnover off of a Fever centre pass, and then now they have a centre pass and they've just given the gift straight back, which just really takes the wind out of your sails. And I think also makes you question, like, who is leading and standing up in those moments? Who has that match awareness? Because regardless of the scoreline, it's important to ride the moments of the game and to keep the possession and momentum in your favour.
Well, as we just saw before, I don't know that anyone is prepared to stand up when there was that loose ball and it was just Janelle Fowler. Let's get down now to Kira Tromp on the sideline for us.
Kath, I really enjoyed this change of Kim Rebellion stepping into the wing defence role. As captain of the Queensland Firebirds, she's the one that needs to step up and lead, and she's directing her players around the court, and they've been able to turn over or restrict the Fever and the ball movement. We had a held ball, and just as Stacey said, they're just not able to capitalise on their centre pass to goal rate, sitting at 68%. At a team at this level, to beat the Fever, you need to be up around the 80 or 90 to really consolidate that hard work that the defenders are doing.
Kira, I'd love to bounce back to you and ask, do you think at this level it is possible for just one player to stand up and to carry a whole team on their back, and especially when you're playing against the likes of the West Coast Fever?
I think that the vulnerability of the team itself is to all fall in a hole when things aren't going well, and sometimes it takes one person just to spark that engagement in the game again, whether it's an intercept or just challenging your opposition, and it turns around the mindset of the rest of the team, and you need a captain, and that's Kim Rebellion in this sense, to step up and lead her team out of this hole.
Well, keep an eye on Kim Rebellion then, or any member of the Queensland Firebirds for that moment. Who's going to pull out that big play in a big moment and spark a comeback here from the Queensland Firebirds? Well, it is an HCF tactical timeout though, so there'll be a little bit of a break first, and it is the West Coast Fever that's called it. Dan Ryan, and he's looking at his bench, so maybe a few more changes coming. Certainly some bibs being passed around. Let's have a listen.
Line together all the time. Think about now as we go into super shots, being the one a little bit deeper, Alice up at the line, you working back a little bit, all right? And just have variation of your entry points into the circle, so you're not in and around the traffic all the time. So just use that speed. Yeah, use your base, use the sweep, right? Use all your avenues, all right? Just make sure we stay alive on the edge of the circle with our positioning. Don't get stuck on top of each other. Be clear on that, right? Just look clear with when we get into super shot. If you see Koshy sitting deep in the circle, it's got to be you on a first phase, all right? Have a connection with Jess on first phase centre pass attack. So if Koshy's back, you might want to call her to go for you. Let's be aggressive in our super shot period here, right? So back yourself in, right? Strong on the rebounds, right? If you get the rebound, just take the one, all right? But find that position to be really assertive, right? Back it in. All right, let's go, both hands in. Okay, we're going goal for these guys. They're up by 1 in this quarter, all right? So let's make sure there's a little bit of an assertiveness in us to try and win this quarter and step it up a bit. Let's go, come on.
1, 2, 3.
That was the HCF tactical timeout, and I don't know if I need to get out a little bit more, but I'm very excited about the words that came out of Dan Ryan's mouth. Let's be aggressive on the super shots. But in all seriousness, why would you not? You've got Kosh that can shoot them up, and you've got Fowler if she misses to get the rebound stakes.
Absolutely right. I love that license from the coach to just go out there and attack the game. Fever aren't willing to be a one-quarter team. Unfortunately bouncing out there, and the call going the other way against a Janelle Fowler, which we don't see very often.
But it was smart work from the Queensland Firebirds in their defensive positioning, wasn't it? They blocked Fowler out, and those are the little wins they need. Kira Tromp was listening in to the Queensland Firebirds huddle. What did you hear?
I was indeed, Kath. Both coaches very happy with the fight back from the Queensland Firebirds, the defensive pressure on court. As we've discussed in the commentary, that building of pressure, they've been able to put the Fever under pressure and cause some errors, which we did not see any in the first half. So the next challenge for the Firebirds is that second phase defence, if they don't win first ball, and then to finish off with a goal.
Thanks, Kira. Well, there it is, the finish off of the goal coming from Donnell Wallam, and it is back to 10. So the Queensland Firebirds, they can get this margin back a little bit closer. This crowd is going to come into play as well. And it is a sellout crowd in here. It is a big crowd. And that could really have an impact as another miss comes off the hand of Emma Koch. Well, whilst we thought it was all the West Coast fever, there is some opportunity coming, isn't there, Stacey? 10 the difference. We are in the Power 5.
Yeah, absolutely right. Koshi following coaching instructions and having the confidence to go to post, but the way in which the ball is bouncing out there is giving the Firebirds an opportunity to get up there and contest that rebound. So 5-2 there, and Remy Carmo and Ruby Bates-Hodgeran have been great at trying to get involved in the opportunities where the opposition are missing.
It's back to single digits. There's the Harvey Norman replay, the miss from Koch, the rebound from the Firebirds, and Donnell Wallam wants to make this gap even smaller.
That really would have been the biggest kick in the shins had that have gone in. I think Firebirds would have been feeling high and mighty, which they absolutely deserve to be. They're giving a great account of themselves in this quarter, and they're not going away.
What's your take on Donnell Wallam taking those shots, though? Because when she takes them, there is no height for that rebound.
Yeah, I think you're right, but out of the two of these shooters, although traditionally the goal attacker is the person that puts up the super shot, I would back a Donnell Wallam in that range over an Emily Moore.
Over the top to Simmons. And Fowler in that same territory. She doesn't want to shoot it, so Emma Koch, does she get another opportunity? No. Fowler, the step in, and makes good. So 10 the difference. Just over 2.5 minutes to play in this third quarter. And it's the Queensland Firebirds. Well, it's out of the back of the court, off the hand of Janelle Fowler. The Queensland Firebirds, talk about consistency. They've scored 15 in the first, 15 in the second. They're sitting on 15 in the third. More importantly, they're winning this third quarter by 3.
Absolutely right, and I think that play to post in the moment and the context of the quarter wasn't necessarily the right choice for Fever. I think even if you are up on the scoreboard, they're down in the quarter, and Dan Ryan was very clear about them wanting to come off having won the third quarter.
Well, it is the championship quarter, as they say, and at the moment not looking like it's going that way. Have a look at this run from the Queensland Firebirds. There's your last 10, and they have 6 of them. Make that 7 off the hand of Wallam. So all of a sudden, the gap getting narrower by the second.
Really great by Alice then. She was left with very little option, but the ability to have that get out of jail free from Janelle in the circle, but also to make it accurate, excellent.
There's your missing net points match leaders. Simmons, she was sitting in the middle of the pack, jumped to the front. Fowler, Teague, Neal and Glasgow. Well, the only difference is Rebellion subbed in for Stour since last time we looked at those stats.
I think a real telling top 5 there based on the game. It really is the attackers running the show. Defensively, neither team are able to make a huge amount of impact, and we've seen quite a bit of change in that defensive circle, specifically from the West Coast Fever. Courtney Bruce has now moved back to goalkeeper. Kim Jenner's come on, and we've got Jess out there on the wing defence.
45 seconds to play here. Long ball, Donnell Wallam, and she'll have Courtney Bruce standing out of play next to her. So it's 8 the difference here. The Queensland Firebirds 19-14 in this third quarter, by far and away their best, and they've kept the West Coast Fever to their lowest scoring quarter. Plenty of time here for the Queensland Firebirds. They have the centre pass, and they have a big, strong target too in Donnell Wallam.
It would be beautiful to finish on an exclamation point here from Donnell.
Well, she heard you, and she does just that. That would chew up the clock too. So the Queensland Firebirds, they get it back to 7. Well, surprisingly, hasn't chewed up the clock. So interesting to see the West Coast Fever forced into that. What a quarter, a third quarter from the Queensland Firebirds. They head into the breakdown, but they've narrowed the gap. It's the West Coast Fever winning 58-51.
Welcome back to the three-quarter time break, brought to us by Origin Energy, where we see the Queensland Firebirds fight back with a 21-15 goal third quarter to bring their deficit back to 7 goals. A very positive bench from the Firebirds. The injection of Macy Gardner was electric in that third quarter in the ability to be able to feed Donnell Wallam early in that three-quarter break. Over to you, Kath, with the Perth side.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll tell you what, listening to Dan Ryan, coach, makes me want to throw my old uniform on and get back out there. He was so encouraging, Stacey.
Yeah, absolutely right. Defensively, he was holding them accountable. He wanted the team not to let Firebirds have depth and to accumulate pressure. But what I really enjoyed watching and listening to was the exchange that he had out there with Emma Kosh. He wasn't blowing smoke up her and telling her that she was doing an excellent job, but he had absolute faith and confidence in her that she could pull this back. He said, you're staying out there. I want you to have confidence in your performance and just really be mindful of what you're doing next. Don't dwell on the moment, stay in it, stay out there and stay connected with Janelle.
Well, it is the same 7 that we saw for the Queensland Firebirds. That change was a good one yet again. The last time these changes were made, they won the second half of the game, got themselves into a beautiful position here. The Queensland Firebirds, can they continue the momentum in this fourth and final quarter? Held ball early, so takes a little bit of the sting out. The West Coast Fever, Kosh. All the way back, and the crowd calling for a held ball. Well, defensively, it feels like they've just picked it up completely here too, hasn't it, Stace, for the Queensland Firebirds?
Yeah, they'll be feeling so confident after that timeout to come out and to back up that performance. We're really seeing that contest that we saw on the stat sheet beforehand. A Fever Firebirds game isn't one that you can apparently call just one way.
Well, nearly comes away with it. Bakewell Doran. Yeah, Carmo just having to catch Janelle Fowler before she goes down. And this will be an easy one for the West Coast Fever. So gets them back to 8 the difference. And they've got the centre pass to follow too. So not the ideal start for the Queensland Firebirds, who would have dearly loved to keep the momentum of the third quarter.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Fever are militant on paying attention to errors and not making consecutive errors, and also on the flip side of that, wanting to punish the opposition. So they stole their centre pass, they've scored off of their own. They'll be feeling a little bit more settled now going into this fourth quarter.
Bakewell Doran, Rebellion. Oh, Dunkley could not get free, could she? The work from Sunday Ariang, impressive in defence. Oh, that one falls for Donnell Wallam. Always takes the bulk of the shots. 41 from 46 for her at 89%. And a little win here for the Queensland Firebirds. Rebellion. Well, she wants something in attack, though. Where's it coming from? Nowhere. Well, Ariang has been sniffing around, hasn't she? They can't hold on to it, though, the West Coast Fever. And there it is. Listen to the crowd, Stacey. Well, that's the danger for the West Coast Fever as this crowd gets up and about and vocal.
Some very uncharacteristic errors being made here by the Fever, which is exactly what the Firebirds will want to see. Clean ball and turnover is hard to get, but they're causing errors.
And keeping that confidence high is Emily Moore. A long high ball over a Courtney Bruce.
Exactly right, and I think Donnell got the better of both goalkeepers that she was playing against in the third quarter, and she's taken that confidence into this final quarter, which they will need. Firebirds cannot win without a Donnell Wallam on song.
Every ball now contested. Queensland Firebirds have stepped it up defensively. Some of those ones they want to try and win, though. There's that big step into the hand that you were talking about at the start of the game. Doesn't face Fowler. Little smile on the face. She's enjoying this contest. Bakewell Doran, Dunkley, Moore, and a long ball again. Back to a couple of the players that didn't start the game, Moore and Gardner. Still happy to let it go from distance. Wow, this is a big moment. Could this be the turning point for the Queensland Firebirds in this fourth quarter? An offensive contact, and Kim Ravallion, the captain, loved it. Wallum sinks one. The score is back to 5. Who would have thought it at the start of the game? It was out by as much as 14, and the Queensland Firebirds have got the ball in hand.
They are not going away, and the purpose of staying in the game and riding the waves of momentum means that often 50-50 balls or calls that aren't even necessarily there are going to fall your way, and the Firebirds are getting the benefit of that.
A very big point you make there, Stacey, for sure. And they are really starting to attack this game, aren't they? As is Sunday Ariane. Well, she finds herself on the ground, and the contact call goes against Lara Dunkley. The umpire saying, you've got to give her landing space, and she didn't. Have a look at the work here from Dunkley. Stood still. Sunday Ariane absolutely nowhere to go. That is always a dicey call, isn't it? Do you agree with that one?
Yeah, I do agree, but I'm biased. But I do agree with that. Sunday was up there. It wasn't a contest. She cleanly had the ball, in which case you have to adjust and concede ground and give her space to land.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that as an attacker, but nonetheless, that's the rule. And the West Coast Fever have scored off it. So, it was a little bit of a fight back from the Queensland Firebirds. Is that the only storm they're going to have to weather here, the West Coast Fever, or is there another couple to come?
Well, I was going to be very interested to see how long Dan Ryan waited to call a timeout or to make a change, and what we have seen is Emma Kosh lead the call and Sasha Glasgow re-enter at the GA.
Looking for a little bit more stability, maybe, is Dan Ryan. There's the head coach of the Firebirds, Rebecca Bully. What on earth would be going through her mind in a moment like this? Can't do a whole heap from the sideline.
She'll be thinking all of her Christmases are going to come at once if the Firebirds are able to take their first win of the season against the top of the table Fever.
Well, that is how close the season is, though, isn't it? And we asked the question to Kira Tromp at the start of the game. You know, first versus 8, in reality, is the gap that big? And you can see right here, right now, it is not. Anstis, very, very quick centre pass. Wants to capitalise on maybe Queensland Firebirds defenders aren't fully ready. Smart move, as it turns out. Get themselves back to 7 for West Coast Fever. Dunkley, Moore, quick double play. It's a nice high arc on that shot, isn't it? Beautiful technique, Emily Moore. Her third for the game, hasn't missed, sitting at 100%.
I get the feeling that we're setting ourselves up for a ferocious final 5 minutes of this game with a bit of a super shot shoot out. Not easy for me to say, apparently.
I don't think that's easy for anyone to say, as Janelle Fowler takes another. Well, just like that, they've given themselves a little bit more breathing space here, the West Coast Fever. You're so right, we're 3 minutes away from that power 5, though, and who is the pressure going to fall on in sinking those Suncorp super shots? Rebecca Bully, bottom of screen, will be wheeling this one through. Another one. She likes it from Danelle Wallen. Ariane Jenner. Oh, hands! Oh, and it's Danelle Wallen with the pick-up too. Looked like the West Coast Fever were waiting for a bit of whistle there. Didn't come. Courtney Bruce
saved the day.
Well, it was almost like an AFL mark, wasn't it? Up and over the back of the player. This is the tip, though, from Moore. And just like that, it's back in hand. And Wallen, look at the face of Danelle Wallen. Trying to get this crowd up on its feet and invested into this game. She knows the difference a sellout crowd can make if this game's going to get to the wire. Moore. Oh, didn't want to let it go. Working it in a little bit closer here, almost in the same position. Moore again. Doesn't want to shoot it either.
I think think she'd really do well to go to post there. Kim Jenner is just dropping off of her and giving her quite a bit of freedom, which for me would give the shooter confidence. And so you'd love to just see her go to post there and really punish the Fever for not putting on the defensive pressure.
Because that's what happens otherwise. She had an opportunity to shoot it and didn't. And you're so right too, when you've got a rebounder the stature of a Donnell Wallen, why would you not back yourself in? Oh, back again though, and it's Wallen on the chase. Well, she can't get herself there, and the two Australian diamonds have a little chuckle. They're not prepared to help each other up though, are they?
It's a fantastic contest, exactly what you want to see out there. No team is conceding way here.
There it is, the Harvey Norman replay, and look at the fight. Well, I actually thought momentarily it was a smart move from Donnell Wallen to turn her body into Ariang and try and protect the ball.
Fever, for me, struggling just to get the ball through the court at the moment. They've not really gotten past that centre circle mark, and they're just missing that connection, whether it be the defenders driving hard and hitting the line, or a better connection from the wing attack, goal attack to bring the ball down themselves.
And that's the Queensland Firebirds defence that stepped up, isn't it? Because it wasn't an area they were struggling with in the start of the game.
Yeah, absolutely right.
6 the difference, 45 seconds away from the Power 5. Glasgow, well, she doesn't want to shoot from that arc just yet. Dan Ryan looking cool, looking calm.
Oh, I don't know about that. I reckon there's a tiny crack in that veneer.
I would hope so. Well, a tip again. They can't keep it though, the West Coast Fever through the fingers. The speed of Gardner. And the shot from Wallen is a sweet one.
Excellent shot there under the pressure of a Courtney Bruce.
Queensland Firebirds again winning this fourth quarter, sitting at 10-9 at the moment. And there it is, the last of the sirens and the last Power 5 time right on cue.
Welcome to the super shot, Sasha Glasgow.
Yeah, well, she is winning that stat. Plenty to her name in season 23. Can Moore fire one back at her? She can, and it's over the likes of a Courtney Bruce. Have a look at the crowd. On their feet, fists in the air. 6 the difference. Well, the Queensland Firebirds need a turnover here. Stacey, who's going to deliver it for them?
Oh, I thought there was going to be a call there from the umpire. I was about to say excellent physicality, but clean by Kim Revalian on the edge of the circle there, trying to minimise that impact of an Alice Teague-Neal.
An easy one-pointer for Janelle Fowler. Just the one miss to her name, 57 from 58, massive numbers, 98%. And she now hits the top of the Nissan net points match leaders board. And what a game from Simmons as well.
Excellent work by Verity, very steady.
Now a couple of Queensland Firebirds on that list as well though. Wallen snuck herself up there. Moore, can she repeat the heroics of moments ago? Well, she can't, but the rebound goes the way of Wallen.
Much more switched on there by Kim Jenner. She let Moore take that super shot, but was ready to contest that opportunity second time round.
Donnell Wallen again. Another Suncorp super shot. And she is fired up. It is 5 the difference here in Brisbane. Look at the bench. You can see the coaches on their feet. As Moore gets off her feet for a moment. There's your score breakdown. Gabby Simpson in a milestone game finds herself on the bench. Yeah, it's pretty loud in here, so even the umpire's struggling to be heard. Gabby Simpson, well, she's loving this contest, isn't she? Such a team player. I'm sure she'd love to be out on the court, but for now, her job is to encourage, and she will do a brilliant job at it in the dying minutes of this game. Fowler.
Sasha being very clear in that moment, just feed it in. Janelle is under the post. In Janelle we trust.
Yeah, well, they don't need the 2 points, do they? They just need to keep applying that scoreboard pressure, and the ones will do the job. Let the Queensland Firebirds shoot it out. Danielle Wallam, she does.
I certainly wouldn't let the Firebirds be taking that front position in the circle in this last 3 minutes of the game. The way that they can win it and steal it from the Fever is by the super shot, and they're looking pretty accurate and pretty confident at the moment.
For the difference, it got to 4 in that third quarter. It is there again. Just over 2 minutes to play. The Queensland Firebirds need a turnover. Defence has got to get the ball back for them here. Is this an opportunity? No. Janelle Fowler spoils the party with a strong rebound. It's water off the duck's back for Janelle Fowler, isn't it?
Absolutely right, but incredible defensive pressure over the shot by the Firebirds defenders there to force Sasha into a miss, as she hears us talking about her and wants to get a stat to her name. Much better hustle on the pickups there, though. Ball went through Lara's hands, but was ably supported by Emily, meaning they didn't lose possession.
5 the difference. They can get themselves a Suncorp super shot here, and they want to go to Wallam. It's back to 3. Can she sing it?
Oh, my goodness.
3 Suncorp super netball shots in a row. Danielle Wallam single-handedly has lifted this stadium and this side for the Queensland Firebirds. And Stacey, we were wondering where it was going to come. It's come through Danielle Wallam. Is there enough time here? The Queensland Firebirds need ball. Oh, Carmo, well, she was so incredibly close. Got her feet in front. The cool heads required for the West Coast Fever. And Danielle Wallam magic again required for the... Oh, she can't make it sing for the Firebirds. Well, you feel like that may have been their last opportunity.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's been a Herculean effort by, oh my goodness, Fever really not at their best in the second half of the game. They're down 18 goals to 15 goals. Firebirds are definitely controlling the second half of the match, and I think unfortunately the time is going to run out for them, and they will be ruining a bad quarter as they were last week.
Well, they did get the ball back, and it is a long shot. Wallam, she sinks it to the difference.
Oh my goodness.
It is a West Coast Fever centre pass though, so that will be the ball game. Wow. The West Coast Fever, well, they take another 4 points, and it makes it 5 from 5 to start their season in 2023. But wow, what a fight back from the Queensland Firebirds. They were down by as much as 14 goals at one point, Stacey. They get it back to 2. What a second half.
Incredible second half. I think what we've shown here is that the Firebirds, the Fever are not invincible. There are absolutely ways to break down their game and to make them look human and force them into errors. Firebirds will be incredibly proud of themselves for that second half performance. But what they're still chasing at the moment is a more consistent 60 minutes, or at least a quarter that doesn't have such a significant blowout, which makes the game that bit harder to pull back in.
Well, you can see the frustration on the head coach's face. Let's get straight to the full-time match stats and have a look. And wow, they've got to have evened up after that second half from the Queensland Firebirds, surely. The shooting percentage certainly did lift, sitting at 86%. Stacey, what else there are you loving from that Queensland Firebirds fight back?
It's so hard to pick anything between them. We were saying that the Fever were the best in the league in terms of their ability to get hands on ball, but there's absolutely no difference between the two teams here. They were able to stay in the contest, to keep the confidence and to keep that lineup out there, which is really difficult, I think. You underestimate how hard it is to play out there against a Janelle Fowler, a Sasha Glasgow, and just to run a whole game.
Let's get down now to courtside with Kira Trump for the player of the match.
Thanks, Kath. I'm here with Janelle Fowler. Interesting scenes. It looks as though the Fever are disappointed having lost, and the Firebirds are pumped about that close game. 60 from 61 for you at 98%. Talk us through that last quarter.
Yeah, it was kudos to the Firebirds because they came at us really hard for the last quarter, but I reckon we just have to maintain what we did for the first half of the game and ensure that we're ticking the scoreboard over.
Absolutely, the tempo in the first quarter, you guys got up to a really great start. That must have had you all very confident heading into the halftime break.
definitely. We were very confident heading into the halftime break, but unfortunately, we kind of let that slip a lot. We opened the door and allowed the Firebirds to come in.
You're outstanding tonight, pulling in balls from all over the court. You had a lot of changes on court around you, and you were able to adapt to that. You're on the road. You've got Adelaide Thunderbirds next week, a very exciting clash where you're coming up against your countrywomen in Shamira Sterling and Latanya Wilson. What is it this week that you'll be working on to improve on today's performance?
Working on making sure that we keep the momentum going when we have the lead and ensuring that we're doing the right things, because we know that the skills will let us down if we fall off, so ensuring that our skills are up.
Well, Janelle, you're carrying on those winning ways, 5 from 5 at the top of the ladder. All the best next week.
Thank you.
Back to you, Kath.
Thank you to Kira, and congratulations also to Janelle Fowler and the West Coast Fever. We're going to stay courtside, though, for a very special presentation to a very special player.
Make sure you come and join us our Anzac round on Turrbal in Yagara country right here at Nissan Arena.
Gabby Simpson, her 150th game today, and hasn't she been such an incredible player for the Queensland Firebirds over so many years?
Such a servant of the game for them. I think to reach 150 games is difficult regardless, but to do it with one franchise is incredibly impressive. And I think if you cut her open, she'd probably bleed a bit of purple and perhaps a few yellow ribbons as well.
Yeah, well, she debuted back in 2013 for the Queensland Firebirds. Played in 4 consecutive grand finals, winning 2 of those premierships in 15 and in 16.
Well, thank you so much for sticking around with us here today at Nissan Arena to celebrate an incredible milestone, and that is for one of the all-time greats, a lady that has notched up a milestone wearing just the one coloured dress, and I think you'll all agree it is worthy of a mighty celebration. Please make welcome an incredible sports person that we are so proud to call our own to celebrate that incredible milestone of 150 games. We have our CEO of Netball Queensland, Kate Davies, to make a special presentation to the one, to the only, Gabby Simpson!
Come on in, Gabs. How you going? What a game, hey? Cheers! Phenomenal. Now, Gabby, it's a huge achievement to play 150 games. It's an even bigger achievement to do all of those 150 games for one club. What is so special about wearing the purple dress for you?
Oh, where to start? I think there's people in this crowd that have been here that I've known from day one, 11 years ago to now. And
don't give away your age, mate.
And I think for me, we've had some amazing highs, we've rode some lows, we're on the build again, and the loyalty of this group is something that is so special to be a part of, and that's what we're all about, the heart at this club.
Well said, Gabby. The Purple fam is pretty special. Now, we see a lot of yellow ribbons in the crowd, all in your honour. Can you give us a bit of insight into the significance of the yellow ribbon?
That's so special to see yellow everywhere, because when I see yellow, I think of happy, I think of joy. And for me, so growing up, my room was bright yellow, but all the walls were this colour with purple skirting boards. And so now I have this yellow ribbon, and when I put it on, it reminds me of that young girl that just plays for the joy of it, that loves the sunshine that comes with the yellow. And so high performance sport can be very serious, but this is a game that we love, and I want to play it with joy.
100%, Gabby. That's super special. Now, last question. What is your best memory from your 11 years in the purple dress? I know that's a tough question. We probably should have given you 20 minutes notice on that.
How do you pick one? It's a lot of games to pick from. I think for me, there's been moments where we've been in absolute highs and that elation of winning a premiership. I think those are pretty special moments. And then I think there's also the moments of when you are in the pits of losing a few games in a row, but how a group of girls can get together and be each other's support. And that's full of heart, and that's a beautiful moment to be a part of as well. So I think I'd take a moment of each of those to build what's been created.
Love that from you, and love you, Gabby. You're an absolute legend of the game. Congratulations.
Thank you everyone.
Well, we all love you, Gabby Simpson. Congratulations on a massive milestone, and we dearly hope there is another 150 games to come. What a superstar of our game.